Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Tamika and I go by the pronoun she and her. And I'm grateful for all of you who do take the time to watch the videos that I make, and for the few people too who have subscribed to the videos. I really do appreciate it, and I'm hoping that by making these videos, I'm creating more awareness and creating an online community and online support about what it looks like for people like me who live with chronic pain. Today, I wanted to talk about how you navigate out in this world when you are someone who is living with pain, and it can be unpredictable in terms of when it's at its worst. So, for example, because I live with fibromyalgia, the mornings tend to be the worst time of day. And then things tend to kind of subside throughout the day. And then coming into the evening, they kind of start to pick back up again in terms of the severity and intensity of the pain. Each day for me looks very different in terms of what my pain is like. Sometimes, in order to use a pain scale, although I've talked about in previous videos why I don't really like using that pain scale, because for me, it's not a question of a pain scale, it's a question of the level of intensity of the pain that I have, because it's chronic and consistent. So for me, having the chronic and consistent pain, there are certain times where it's really difficult. The mornings tend to be a struggle, and I try to stagger my appointment times and availabilities anytime between like 10 to 4-ish, in that window there works better for me. But I also know that I could get up one morning and it could not be really suitable that time that I might have thought would have worked. So it's hard to be consistent. And that is one of the things that people look at you and judge you on. Again, it's fibromyalgia is an invisible disability, because a lot of people who live with fibromyalgia, they are suffering greatly, so they might not be participating in any meaningful way out there on a day-to-day basis in society. Oftentimes, they are confined to their home, living with the pain and living with the side effects of the various medications that they're trying to take. They've had to leave the workforce. I've heard of many stories of people who are just been living in agony for many years, weeks, and months. So we don't really see it. And the thing is, because you can't see pain, it's hard to pinpoint it and say something is wrong with this person. And recently, I've experienced that in trying to have consistency when I'm trying to re-engage, within the community, whether it's at my church, whether it's if I want to volunteer to do something, whether it's even doing things on behalf of my companion animal, my dog. It's really a challenge because I know that people don't see it, and I know that I look like everything is okay. And really, everything is not okay with me. It might only appear that way, but it's not okay. And what I mean it's not okay is that I am having pain. The question is, or the better question to ask is, how severe or intense is your pain today? How is the pain impacting your ability to do the things that you would like to do today? For example, if I want to prepare a meal for myself today, the pain and the tingling in my hands that I'm experiencing would make that very difficult, because I don't have the dexterity and the mobility to be able to do things really like chop and cut up vegetables, for example. Like just doing that activity that someone may take for granted would cause me pain, and it would cause me to it would deplete my energy store, that if I were to push forward and force myself to do it, I would be so depleted that by the next day, I'm not capable of doing much of anything at all. So that's often the cycle that I'm in. I do push myself, and then sometimes it goes way too far and then takes me a day or two to recover. So it is cyclical, and it is something that is ongoing, and I can't really state exactly what that's going to be like every single day, because it differs, it changes. So it's important to be able to vocalize that. I'm going to have to be able to be more vocal in advocating for myself once more. And again, this is something that we as Black women, when we do speak up, we're seen as being difficult, we're seen as being irresponsible, we're seen as being a nuisance, or we're seen as wanting to seek unnecessary attention. And it makes it challenging to want to use your voice. I know I need to use my voice when it comes to trying to communicate to people what I am able and willing to do and the limitations within which I'm working. But at the same time, I also know the fallout that I can receive from that. I can get resistance, I can get pushback. So it makes me anxious, and it makes me trepidatious about how I go out and how I'm able to advocate for myself, because I don't have anybody else to do it. So if I don't speak up for myself, no one else is going to do that on my behalf. And in those moments where it's difficult, it's hard to know how to put the words together so that it can be received, in understanding that you're talking and you're working with someone with an illness, and you might have to work within different parameters than you otherwise would with anybody else. And that's also, for me, feels like it's a weakness, and I don't want to be having to be that vulnerable. But at the same time, if I'm not able to express that, then I'll never get the treatment that I need to receive when I interact with people, so that my own chronic illness and pain isn't exacerbated. Because at the end of the day, they're moving on and they're functioning and they're healthy and they're out in the world. And I'm in here and I'm struggling and I'm suffering and I'm the one living with the pain. And that is something that I don't really know how to explain that for people to understand, that you have to interact differently when you are interacting with people with chronic illness. You don't need to know all of the details. You just need to realize that when somebody has a disability, whether you see it or not, it matters, and it might change the way that you communicate with them and how you communicate. And it's not like we're looking for to be treated with special treatment and kid gloves, but it also means that we have to have more compassion and understanding and empathy. And I know we don't live in a society that promotes that, unfortunately. But nonetheless, I'm hoping that by sharing my struggles, by being vulnerable, that I can at least have a way of expressing the hurts that I'm feeling. Just because my disability is invisible doesn't mean that I am, and it doesn't mean that I don't have something happening inside of my body that's causing me to behave and react differently than maybe how I would even perceive myself to be. Invisible disabilities are real, and it's a disability nonetheless. And it means that there's limitations and parameters within which I can work. And I would anticipate that people can really respect that. So as always, I say, listen to Black women, believe our stories, be an advocate for our voices. If you are an advocate, that means you will make a platform to hear our stories. You'll listen to what we have to say with compassion, without judgment. Remember that we are worthy, and we are worthy of love, and we are lovable, and we are capable beings. And as Black women, we have stories to tell that deserve to be heard. Thanks, everyone.